Hello and welcome to Impact Club. May peace be upon you. I'm your host, Sabah Fatima. Our guest today is Nilly Naseer-Farooqui. She is an entrepreneur, TEDx speaker, corporate trainer, peak performance keynote speaker, human trafficking prevention educator. She's also an ambassador and prevention education speaker for Shared Hope International, a nonprofit organization dedicated to rescuing and restoring the lives of human trafficking victims. Nilly, welcome. How are you doing?
Hi, thank you so much for having me. I'm good.
Thank you for joining. So what motivated you to pursue a career path in information technology and social work?
Well, it was not a straight path, I can tell you that. Growing up, I always thought I wanted to be a pediatrician. So my mind was always towards medicine. But then I quickly realized I can't stand blood or even have the stomach to talk about simple procedures. Whereas when I talk to my sister, for example, who's in the medical field, she can have lunch while watching a whole surgery video and be completely fine, like completely unfazed. And I could never do that. I was like, so, I definitely need to change which way I was headed. So I think, like many others, I was kind of lost on what exactly I wanted to do when I was applying for colleges. So I started to think about, what do I truly enjoy doing? So since I think I've always been occupied in a computer, even like since like the dial-up internet days, when MySpace was kind of new at the time, I think 2000, my God, I can't even know. It was like really new back
It was
then.
like the early 2000s.
Yeah, like really early. And so I was coding those like flashy MySpace background templates for my friends and I. And I didn't even know like, oh, like I didn't think of it as like a lucrative field or anything like that. It was just something I was doing for fun. And I was like, and all I wanted was like a background. And I was like, how do I do it? And then I looked up how to do it and it showed me like how to HTML code. So I realized now I could have easily charged like a small fee and started my business, but I didn't think of doing that at the time. It's funny looking back at that now though, because I think I was like 11 or 12 when all this was happening. But yeah, so I was naturally inclined towards technology, and then it faded in and out during high school. It came back around junior year, I think, when I was applying for colleges. And then I even did a coding assignment, kind of similar to the MySpace templates, using HTML for a friend who I think was a junior in college at the time when I was a senior in high school. So I was basically completing like an assignment that for someone way older in like a different class in college while I was still in high school. So I was like, all right, you know what? I think computer science may be the way I want to go. I have to say, majoring in computer science completely took me by surprise. I mean, it was nowhere near as fun as coding those MySpace templates were. It was rough. I mean, I think it was hard for everyone in that major. A lot of people in my class switched majors. Every part of me wanted to quit. I mean, 2 years in, I was like, that's it. I can't do it anymore. But then I stuck through it. And I think it really taught me resilience. And, that if I could make it through that, I can make it through anything. And then alongside that, I was minoring in psychology because like the human mind has always been fascinating to me. And pretty much all the books I've read throughout my life and still do are somehow related back to psychology. So I think I considered those my fun classes mixed with my hard coding or software classes. Um, for social work, I wouldn't really consider that part of my career path. All the work I do regarding human trafficking is just out of passion. I got paired with an amazing organization, Shared Hope International, and I became an ambassador in helping fight trafficking and helping those victims heal through the programs that the organization offers. So I wouldn't really say it was a career path. It was just something I would consider it more of like my social cause passion.
It's a calling.
In a way, yeah. I think I was drawn to that more than like any other like different things I've worked on throughout. So,
and I can totally relate to when you said about your experience in computer science. So I majored in computer science too.
Yeah.
So I can.
How'd you like that?
It was rough.
Yeah, especially because we're like at least like when I had gone, I don't know which university did you go?
So I went to college in India, and back in India, the focus was so much on the technical aspect. of the whole course, and we had to spend a lot long hours in the lab, and we had to take tests every month, or like report in assignments every week. So it was heavy.
Yeah, exactly. And the thing is, like, I'm sure that like you're probably one of the very few girls there as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Same here. I think I was, maybe there's another girl in some of my classes. Otherwise, there were some classes where I was the only girl. And so, like, I mean, just that engineering field, like there
Yeah.
aren't a lot of girls. So yeah, I totally.
Yeah, and Nilly, you you said that you did mention this before, and you work on social issues like human trafficking and human rights. What have you discovered, and how close are we to achieving changes there?
Something I've discovered, and I think it shocks a lot of people whenever I mention this, is that no one is totally exempt from it. Human trafficking isn't something that's just happening in a different country, a different state or city from you. It's happening in your backyard too, whether rich or poor. I think like both economic classes, they have different issues that traffickers prey on to their advantage. So for example, if it's in an underprivileged neighborhood, basic needs may not be met, in which case a trafficker can maybe work on getting close to you, become a confidant, and then mention, hey, I have an opportunity for you that, can get you out of this living situation, and then mention a fake job in a different state. Once they have your trust, it just becomes a game of manipulation because you don't think this person can ever think of harming you. And then when you look at like the more privileged societies, while maybe all the material needs are being met, there are other basic human needs that may not be met, such as like mental or emotional needs. And in that case, a trafficker can come in a form of everything you've been looking for in a companion, whether romantic or not. And again, once they have that trust, it's just a game of manipulation. A trafficker's main strategy is isolation. They just want you to only trust and depend on them. And they will do everything they can to get to that point before any form of abuse starts. So, it's just, they will literally do anything they can to get you to depend on them. So they will ask questions in a way where, they kind of be like, oh, what are you looking for? What do you see in this, in a person that you want to be with? Or what do you look for in a friend? And they just become that. And, it's just like a facade. In terms of changes, I can't really speak on how close we are to changes because that varies on so many factors. I can definitely say that there is a lot of awareness regarding it. I think our current generation is not as trusting, which may sound odd, I know, but because like our society relies on strangers for services and companionships. I mean, just from dating apps to taking a simple Uber. But now I think there's more awareness on red flags and warning signs to look out for, as well as precautions to take for safety when navigating these avenues with strangers, if you know what I mean. Like if whether that's meeting in public for dates or letting your loved ones know your location. I actually, when I get into an Uber, if I'm in there alone, I send pictures of the Uber driver, car information, everything like that screenshot to my family and my husband, just letting people know like, hey, this is where I am. This is like the car, and being aware of your surroundings in general. I mean, I think almost every girl I know carries either a pepper spray or a taser. I mean, I wish they didn't have to, but I mean, it helps to know that they have that. Also, something new recently that I saw happening a lot more is there have been cases of women finding tags in their bags, and then that bag kind of alerts like a notification on their phone that says that their location is being tracked. I'm sure you've come across those.
That is new and interesting.
Yeah, it's basically like a tag that you can just throw in something like a car, a bag, in a grocery bag, like literally anything, like a purse. They just throw the tag in, and that tag basically lets the other person know where you are at constant time. So I just wanted to put that out there for anyone, if you're going to any crowded places, restaurants, just anywhere really, take a quick check in your bag and make sure there isn't something that you didn't put in there.
And thank you for sharing that. So we are in a phase where we know that human trafficking is a challenge because it seems to be a well thought out, big operation. And then I guess I'm grateful that you're driving awareness about this, and it is so important. And thank you for the work you do there.
Thank you.
And Nilly, what does a typical day look like in your life?
Oh my God. Anytime anyone's asked me this, I honestly cannot answer that for you because I don't think I've had a typical day ever. I mean, it's different for me every day. And I think after the pandemic, especially, I think so much has changed that I feel the only constant in my life is change itself.
Yeah.
And today looked different because I had this podcast. Yesterday it was different because I had an event to plan. Tomorrow I have other engagements that need my attention. So I mean, it's really hard to like pinpoint it down to what my typical day may look like. It's forever changing.
So there's something new to look forward every day.
Basically, yeah. And that's how my calendar is. I mean, even when you had reached out for this podcast, I think I gave you a date like 2 months ahead.
Yeah.
Yeah, like that's what I mean. Because I really will not know, like, unless something else cancels and something else opens up, like it's booked out.
And Lily, what are, in your opinion, some of the biggest cultural challenges that South Asian women face today?
Where do I start? Keeping their own identity, voicing opinions, body shaming. I mean, so for example, body shaming. I never understood the need in our culture to comment on someone else's appearance. You know, how does pointing out someone's weight, acne, crooked teeth, like how does that show concern? You're just insulting them. You know, if you gain weight, they'll tell you you're getting fat. If you lose weight, they'll tell you you're too skinny. You'll never be good enough. Like it just feels like, yeah, like you'll never be good enough for like anybody. That's what they make you feel like. And I feel the main focus should be if you're healthy and you're happy and you're taking care of yourself, like that's all that matters. Going on about voicing opinions of why I think it's a struggle. I don't think we struggle to voice opinions as much as others struggle to listen to them. You see this a lot happening with older generation.
That is a good point.
Any difference of opinion is dismissed as talking back. But what they fail to see is disagreement does not mean disrespect. We're not all clones of each other, you know? I mean, we all have different thoughts from our different individual experiences. But I think voicing our opinion gets lost in that cultural mindset sometimes. Like I'd seen this one quote the other day. It was like, being an opinionated woman in the South Asian community is not for the lighthearted. And I fully heartedly believe that. And I think one other, which one? Keeping their own identity. I think that's another huge cultural challenge that I think South Asian women struggle with is keeping their own identity, because we're always someone's something, someone's sister, someone's mother, wife, daughter-in-law, etc. And the roles that come with each of these that try to put us into a mold according to culture. You know, there are all these said and unsaid stack of rules, the do's and the don'ts. I just think it's really easy to lose yourself within that. I mean, okay, so you'll see in movies, for example, you know, the portrayal of what a perfect XYZ looks like. And anything that deviates from that means you're not a good sister, mother, wife, or et cetera, whatever. Which makes me go back to when I'd said, we're all different people that also operate differently. Everyone will approach a relationship differently. So what works for some won't work for others. In fact, a lot of relationships have failed because people try to live by this cultural mold put on them, and that builds resentment. So I think it just, you know, be happy with who you are first and learn to fulfill your needs before catering to the needs of others and falling into this whole like people pleasing kind of mindset and culture. So I definitely think it's getting better with the upcoming generation. I see it much more. I think people are kind of waking up and seeing, why do we still do this, you know? And I think that's also the thing. That's why the younger generation is so scared of, or why the younger generation scares the older generation so much. Because we question everything that they may have blindly followed. And I think going forward, we need to train our kids in how to think, how to stick to facts, how to draw rational conclusions, and how to never make assumptions, because these are critical skills in a culture that constantly tells you what to think, but never how. So just something that I thought was really important to me.
I mean, you touched upon so many important points there. And and I feel those are important to understand, those are important to identify. And we as, both being part of this culture and being a woman and having to be, juggling all of these, being all of these things at the same time, and how and the cultural implications of taking a decision and sort of like thinking through a lot about something that you want for yourself against what you would want the world to think of you. It's like just, I think, taking ourselves outside of that struggle and identifying these things and saying that, okay, here's where I'll draw a line on this one right here and put it on the other side and not let it affect my life anymore, is brave for a lot of women today.
Yeah, I know, definitely.
And
yeah, no, I totally agree.
And it's like, I'm happy that we as a generation are driving these conversations, and because they are so important. So, and I'm happy that you're doing that.
Yeah, no, I'm glad. Like I said, I think it's getting better with the upcoming generation, because of these things being talked about. And again, like I said, if you teach your kids how to think, a lot of this can be avoided, because a lot of when people just go by, it's always been done this way. I think there's so much to unpack there, because just because something's always been done a certain way doesn't mean it needs to continue or that it's a good thing.
Yeah. And separating ourselves from the mindset of who are we gonna let down, and in this process, and trying to understand that a lot of things that we think are sort of like big things are not really that big. For example, when we think that, okay, if a certain practice is being done this way for generations, it does not mean that you have to do it because of the fear of letting someone down or being separated from a culture or from a tradition or from families in general.
Yeah, no, I completely agree.
Yeah. And Nilly, you're also a corporate trainer. What advice would you give to our listeners trying to succeed in the corporate world while being confident in their identity?
I would say stay true to yourself. I think what happens a lot in the corporate world is when you come in with a set of beliefs, you feel the need to change it to maybe fit or adapt in certain work cultures. I don't think that's necessary. I mean, for example, my male coworkers, they know not to hug me or shake my hand. With new people at work, or, if I'm meeting a new different group or something like that, I think they mostly understand from my hijab. But if I do back away or say I don't shake hands, they totally understand, because I put it back on them instead of being ashamed or awkward about it myself. I don't owe anyone any explanation. And in doing that, I remain confident in who I am instead of giving in and then feeling bad about it later. Same goes with happy hour, actually. I don't think I've ever once had to explain why I don't drink. But beside that, I don't think I ever leave that space open for anyone to come and try and convince me otherwise, because that's another thing. I think it's very important that once you start showing that there may even be an inch of room for change in your beliefs or who you are, people will take miles. So I think it's very important to stand firm to who you are and stay true to yourself, because people will start pulling you in so many directions otherwise.
Yeah. I think it takes a certain amount of courage to say no in order to be yourself and own your identity and own your beliefs and practices. And I think it is tough. It is tough for a lot of people, especially women, and having that fear of trying to maybe not being excluded, being alienated, And
yeah, no, I completely get that, which is why I'm saying, like, I think you should show that you have other things to offer other than just like, I don't have to drink with you to get to know you.
Yes.
I don't have to network. There's just so many other ways I can network instead of having a drink in my hand, or just, different things like that. I think it's once people see that you are not someone who compromises their own beliefs, I think people respect that a lot more than someone who's easy to walk over.
Yes. And I think that is such an important element to be understood here, because I feel that you psychologically, I would really have a lot of respect for someone standing up for themselves.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and I think that message should be loud and clear for especially women struggling with this issue. And
right.
Yeah, that is important. And Nilly, what are your plans for the future?
We'll see.
I was just going to say that's like a Daisy dialogue right there.
No, I mean, I'm the kind of person who kind of just keeps everything under wraps, and then all of a sudden I'll surprise you with something new. I do that with all of my goals and aspirations, nothing personal. It's just like my number one goal setting tip I tell everybody is that do not tell anyone what you're up to until you're almost done with it or after it's public, because what happens when you tell others is that you're giving them a chance to talk you out of it. Yeah. And I say this because the people that you share your dreams with may be questioning their own deep inside, and in return questions yours to deflect it. So they may try to apply the same negative beliefs that they apply to their own dreams. And even if it's well-intentioned, I know sometimes, it can be well-intended, it can still hurt, and that you might get in your own way because of that. So until you're 200% sure of what you want for yourself, do not give others the chance to talk you out of it. Keep it to yourself. What they don't know cannot hurt you.
And I'm so glad you said that, because I feel a lot of times when we do talk about our dreams and aspirations, it's almost like we already expect a certain kind of response in our head about those things, because when we make a plan, we think of it as great. We think that this can take us places, and you get internally excited about it. But when you share that and you hear something negative about it, it's like it can bring your morale down to bits.
Exactly.
And especially if the plan is in its infancy. So I would stick by that too. Like, only talk about your plans when you're almost there, when you're ready to talk about it. And it's like ready to go.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. I only at this point, I only talk about the plan if it's directly affecting something. But other than that, I've never felt the need to tell someone what I was up to until I was done with it.
Yes, that is I think that is something to live by for any purpose.
Yeah.
And Nilly, how can our listeners get involved with the social work that you do?
I post a lot of the work I do on my Instagram at Words Behind a Smile. I admit I haven't posted in a while. I come on and off as I deem fit, which doesn't mean I'm not working on anything, but all my work updates are on there. And I always try to get back to my DMs whenever I can to answer any questions, as long as they're not religious questions. Sometimes I get like these messages that are asking me like for fatwas, and I'm like, please find someone more knowledgeable regarding that, because this is not the place.
Yeah.
So yeah.
I mean, I'm so happy to have had this conversation with you, and I hope our listeners will benefit from this. Thank you so much for joining me today, Nilly, and I hope you have great things in your future.
Thank you so much, Sabah. I appreciate it.
And thank you, listeners, for tuning in. Please subscribe to Impact Club on YouTube, Spotify, Apple, wherever you listen to podcasts. And please share your thoughts on this episode and tag us on social media. Thank you all, and I'll see you next time.